Hello, it's Scott Siveright here, and today I'm talking to Geetha, and Geetha will introduce herself in a second. Geetha has helped us just in part of the setup of the group, and one of the things that she was involved in is one of the early things we wanted to do was almost like negotiate a way of talking to each other, and we call that code of conduct and collaboration. But I think it felt at times like an armistice agreement that we could all agree to talk if we all signed up to this. Anyway, Geetha, who are you? Who are you?
Okay, I am Geetha Ramachandran. I know my surname is a bit of a mouthful.
Ramachandran's easy.
Okay, good.
I've been working with Indians for many years. I've worked with many Ramachandrans.
Okay, good. So I'm a professional coach and an Agile coach. I got introduced to Agile like 10 years ago, and it completely changed the way I looked at people, the way I worked with people, everything changed.
For the better.
So that's for the better. Yeah, for the better. Definitely, it did. So, and I have been enjoying it ever since.
Good. So you're one of the people that I've only met through the whole call for wouldn't it be fun to go and do something as a network across the world for this. So why are you interested?
You know, when I first saw your post on LinkedIn, it kind of fascinated me to think this whole idea of a worldwide retrospective, doing it after 20 years. It's simply fascinating as an idea and a concept. I had no idea how we were going to do it, but then it seemed fascinating and I was ready to join. So that was my first entry into the Agile20Reflect, as you call it, and the festival.
Yeah, it's been fascinating the amount of people we've got. I mean, I think, yeah, how many people have we got now?
In the Slack community, I think within a month, right? You posted this a month ago. We have over 120 people on the Slack channels. And I think the last time I looked, there were 3,900 messages already. Exactly.
I haven't read them all.
No, me neither. But then, you know, it's really interesting. I just to kind of look up these 120, 30 people who have just joined within the first month, it would be so interesting. I connected with one person on LinkedIn and I asked, there was this, personally, I'm really drawn to the first core value of the Agile Manifesto, right? Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. And I asked him out of curiosity, so what is it that you are interested in? And he said customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And then he pointed me to a talk that he did. And I thought, wow, every single person who is in the Slack community has something to share and a story to tell. And just in itself, just within this group of 130 people, we've already done something. You know, it's
Wow.
interesting.
The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. I've kind of in doing this, I had to think, what am I doing? How am I doing it? Would it work? Wouldn't it work? How's the experiment? And then we got to the point where we weren't sure how to organize. So I'm liking the idea of maybe a charity. So a charity feels like something that can't get corporately bought out, can't get bought over, and we can keep changing the trustee board all the time just to keep it alive. And with the amount of people involved in that, maybe we could raise money. Maybe we could actually, as well as the educational aspect of the charity.
Yeah.
And the other key thing I want to do is actually gather all information and actually put it into some permanent repository that like nobody owns, but we can all use.
That would be great. Yeah.
So charity aspect's good for that because it could fund that. It could have academic research and things. Because one of the things I'm quite lucky is I know Alistair Coburn quite well, so I've been involved in the Heart of Agile and other pieces. And through knowing Alistair, that I know there's a huge reservoir of information and things that just isn't out there, or one of the things he's put a video out with Steve Denning. I don't know if you've seen it, but I watched it very briefly whilst I was doing something else, and I was talking to Alistair at the weekend, and he said, "No, watch it." So last night in bed, I was watching it, and I kind of kept going back and going over bits, but there was stuff in there that I never knew anything about, that Alistair was talking about
Wow.
setup, about who was there, what they'd done before. Like the XP guys taking their cards out and throwing them on when they were trying to set the agenda.
Wow.
There haven't been like Alistair having copied the format from a previous meeting that had happened a couple of years before. So all these bits were just lovely from a historic point of view. And the archiving bit is I want to capture a lot of that, a lot of stories. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's the 20-year point's a good point because we're almost like at the generational bit. And it's also maybe time to look forward as well. So I'm hoping some of the events will look forward.
One other thing that caught my interest, and I see that happening in the Slack community as well. It's like, it's a worldwide festival, right? It's not just the UK or like the US. It's we have people joining in from, and you had been earlier inviting people from Africa, from like all over the place, and which means we get to hear about what people's experiences have been. And you were just sharing a story with Alistair, and there are so many other deeper stories to be heard and understood and enjoyed. And I think such a repository would be really useful. It would be great.
Yeah. And there's probably a lot of things that people have done and invented that that nobody knows about. So I know about Alistair, and Alistair, this won't work because of the background, but this is the crystal clear book, which definitely here we go.
Nice.
So Alistair came out with that, and crystal, and I read it back in the day, and I read it for the. I hope Alistair's not watching this. I read it for the wrong reason because I'd used an AI tool at university called Crystal, and I thought it was a book of that. So I got it and I started reading it, and I went, "This is absolutely wonderful." I never thought that 16 years later I'd meet the author.
Wow!
And it's all about human stuff.
Crystal, I was thinking of Crystal Reports, but it's not.
No, exactly. I thought I'd bought a Crystal Reports book, and it was Alistair's book.
Yeah. Okay. Good. This is we are slowly sort of uncovering new depths here. It's brilliant. I think you've sort of started something really great here. Honestly, I enjoy. I can't wait to see what else comes through.
Yeah. So just on the international side, we're putting together the trustees, and so far we have someone from India, and we have someone from USA, we have someone from Russia, and we have someone from France, and someone from Israel, and we got someone from Wales and Scotland.
You managed to get someone from Africa, did you say?
Well, South Africa, yeah.
South Africa, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really pleased with the people that put forward, honestly, some of the people couldn't make the time commitment, and what I'll probably do is put an advisory group together. And also, because it's global, I want to put a regional representation in there, but I'm not sure how. So again, I'm being agile, right? I know to set up money in bank accounts, I need a group. So I'm going to set that up. The regional representation and other things we can do a little bit later because we don't really need to.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm actually trying to set something up that's kind of year 5 of operation. So usually start something small, and then you make it bigger, and then you make it bigger, and then you make it bigger. So I'm actually aiming for year 5. So.
All right. Right off the bat, year 5.
Yeah.
Go for year 5.
And partly it's because of COVID, and partly it's because of we're all remote. So I don't think a year ago I could have done this. Okay. Just because the idea of an online event would probably not get much input. Because everything today had been conferences, and I actually think this opens up to the world. So you don't need that much money to be able to watch some videos of things. Whereas before you might have to, you might have had to go to, a rally or something, in the US to do something. So, and that's one, and some of the DNA that we're trying to build in here is none of this is for profit or money, right? So we don't want people to make money. And any money generated, we want to go to charity. The other thing is we really want the entry to level on this to be anyone in the world, anywhere, irrespective of income. So if you can get like internet access, you can get this. We want the academic angle as well. I really want to maybe see if we can start writing papers and things that are quite exciting. That we'll maybe publish some books as well. So it's and the other thing is, I'm designing this as if we're going to do it every year. Don't tell anyone.
You just did. Okay.
Because it's easier to it's easier to build in the fundamentals in the first year, and then the second year it's easier to roll out than to do something that's maybe not designed for good governance, and then the next year try and do it, and then it gets a little bit more difficult. So so all the rules about voting and everything else, are going to be year one. Actually, it's a really good point. I can mention that now. What I want is the friends group to really be broad-based, and that's going to be based on the Slack group, and everyone in there is going to have a membership. The membership and the kind of the friends of the festival group will do a couple of things. So one thing it'll do is there might be some perks. Okay, so you might get notified of talks and events before everyone else, so you can get maybe a chance to book. So that's usual for festivals. Yeah. And the other thing is, from that group we'll have a pool of people that can help steward. So if someone's running an event and they need some help, the friends can come and help. And the other thing is, I'm a really great believer in emergence. So not telling people what to do, but letting people do it. And maybe you can help with this, right? I'd like in the friends group, if we need something to happen, so people come together and just do it. A bit like you and Dov and Robin did with the code of conduct and collaboration, right?
Mm.
So you're not appointed, nobody's going to tell you to do it, there isn't a deadline, and I want a word for this. So the word I was using, or thinking about using, was a gyre. Okay, that's Gyre. So when a body of water, when it suddenly starts spinning,
Yeah,
that's a gyre. It comes from the I believe it comes from the Latin, and if anyone's watching this and knows Latin, I'll get it wrong. I think it comes from a swirl. So it's a swirl of things, or to hold something and spin it. So I love the idea of this thing not being a committee, not being a meeting, not being a task and finish group, but being a swirl, because it feels like a dance.
yeah, yeah.
And I think a lot of people like yourself have came into the group thinking, well, how can I help? And what I'd like to do is actually see some swirls happen.
Yeah, yeah. Swirls becoming bigger swirls as well. Yeah.
Well, some swirls will be big and some will be small. And the other thing is, any major issues I'd like to put to full voting, simple majority on the friends group. So if you're in the if you're in the friends group, you get a vote. And a lot of the smaller things, the operational things, and the preparing of policies to be done by the trustees. The trustees put it to the main group vote. So I want to get that kind of democracy in there immediately.
Yeah, I must say though, one thing I've realized in the last month, right? It's not like it's not like I don't know, bed of roses, nothing like that, or walk in the park kind of thing. We have had to sort of deal with any large community coming together and learn to inspect and adapt to see how we're doing, if people are passionate, if people have different views, how do you deal with it? And that's how the code of conduct was born initially. I mean, it was started at least, triggered like that. And I'm sure a lot of many other things will come. So, I mean, as we go along, we ourselves inspect and adapt. We pretty much follow the things we do in any agile piece of work.
Yeah. So if you ever read any of the bios on me, or if you read my Medium post, it's all about pirates. Okay. So part of the idea, most of my career, I've been rebelling against bad management. Okay. And I think a lot of people in the agile community, we found the community because we didn't like what was there. And we're used to rebelling against things. And so actually to try and get, a group of pirates together to have a festival, it's difficult.
It's not easy, is it? Yeah. Yeah. It's quite ambitious, to say the very least.
I think because I know a few people, and when I went to saw Alistair, and he said it was maybe an interesting thing to do, but make sure it's fun. And personally, I've had a bit of a desire to try and get back to the grassroots of what we had, and try and get back to that human connection. And when I see people that aren't, I think for comedy, I shared the video from Monty Python. Did you see it, about the People's Judean Front?
I saw that you posted it, but I haven't had the chance to actually
It's
go and
very
listen to
short,
it. I will.
and you are going to laugh. But sometimes the Agile community is a bit like that. I'm Scrum.org. I'm Scrum Alliance. No, I'm Agile
Oh yeah.
Alliance. Yeah. No, yeah. And the other thing I noticed was we have we don't engage to talk about things or what our differences are. So there's no healing, and 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 so partly bringing people together is also healing. So you'll know this from coaching, yeah. So there have been lots of conflicts, and what people have done is went off and done their own thing. And this is bringing people together. So we are going to bring some people together that might have a lot of pain, might have a lot of hurt, might have a lot of bad experiences. So as a coach, what do you think of that?
Yeah, well, firstly, we approach each other with unconditional positive regard. I recently did a talk on psychological safety, right? I called it the X factor of psychological safety, right? And
yeah,
I
I'm
think
hooked already. I'm hooked already.
All right. Okay. In fact, let's try a picture here today. So by X factor, I mean the really X, as in like that. Yeah.
Upside, is that upside? This curiosity is upside down, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. I like it.
So it's the way I look at it. As a coach, for example, when I'm speaking to someone, you need to first have that psychological safety for anything to emerge, right?
Yeah.
The content of it, that only comes after. But that psychological safety, I feel first that first arm of X, it's unconditional positive regard. And then the bed is curiosity. And the other arm of X is yes and. And that's something we all know in the Agile world. So why not use it? So I feel
If you make that, I'm going to put it in my background. Okay.
yeah, for sure. So I think if we adopt that X factor of psychological safety throughout all our interactions in this whole space and through the festival, it's, I mean, not only healing, but also new understanding will emerge. That's what I think.
And I want you to help with that. And I really want you to help build that culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm passionate about. As a coach, I specialize in transformation coaching, right? And in transformation coaching, I've been sort of researching into transactional analysis, systemic constellations, and all sorts of stuff, where you start seeing new perspectives. It's understanding is one thing, healing is one thing, but then to see new perspectives takes you to a completely new level, right? I think that's what I think would be really awesome.
Yeah.
To get to that new higher place.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I don't know. I know very little about anything. But one of the things I tend to see when people talk is they're doing a lot of filtering. So they filter out all the good stuff and only see the bad stuff, or look for hidden meanings that aren't actually attached. And a lot of it's kind of progressively built up over years.
Yeah. And anything small that the other person says, it's like that last straw on the camel's back, right? They explode, and there is a long history behind it. And I think firstly we need to take the time and to have that regard and that curiosity and to have that yes and approach. I think that is the key. This is a new learning for everybody. Tolerance, often people get into their comfort zones. If they're working in an organization, they're working there for maybe a few years or whatever it is, certain period, they get used to that. They get used to the teams, they get used to everything. And so they get into that kind of their way of working. So to then come into contact with different people who have done great things in their own way, to come together where everybody says, I have done something great and I would like to tell you about it. To just pause and say, have humility and say, yes, I may think I'm great, but then I'm sure you are also great. So let me stop and listen to what you have to say, you know?
It's easy for me because I'm nobody and I haven't done anything.
Yeah. Well, it says you who has just triggered the Agile20Reflect Festival, right?
No, I'm just setting up the trustees. They're going to run it.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I genuinely also believe as a coach that each and every one of us, including you, has some key strengths we need to tap. And
yeah.
just because you allow things to happen doesn't mean that you do not come with your own strengths, right? And the question is, what strengths are they and how do we tap that?
I like it. You should be a coach.
I am a coach, which is why I hope.
Yeah, cool. I think it's been a great little intro video, and I find the shorter ones get watched more, so I'm going to stop this now, and maybe we can do another video about something else. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. It has been a pleasure chatting with you.